1.
All right.
All right. What's up, everybody?
Well, it's just you and me here, so.
Yeah. Well, we're back. The today's episode, Jason and I are gonna go down a bit of a heavy memory. As a lot of you who are friends with us know, we lost a really good friend named Dylan in March 3rd of 2019. 18? I lose track because of how much has happened in the world after he passed away.
I think it was 19.
Yeah, it's 19.
It's been 3 years.
Right. But, you know, and so when I guess you spoke to Matt about it, right? Matt suggested we do it, and I went to work and I was sitting on my truck and I was thinking, like, man, you know what? I really want to tell the story about the night I first met Dylan. Because do you remember the first time you ever met Dylan?
I believe so. You brought him to my house, I think.
Did I?
Yeah. I didn't meet. Maybe I met him at the church, but it was briefly.
So the very first time I had ever met Dylan, Kim told me, she's like, I have somebody that's renting out one of my rooms. He's a young kid, but he's a lot like the rest of you guys. He likes to drink beer and he likes to be outside. You know, he's just
like all men.
Well, just drink beer and be outside. That's our greatest common denominator. And she said he really likes country music a lot. And I was, you know, I don't know. I don't know how you feel. I'm not eager to make new friends. I don't know about you or not.
No, not anymore.
And I'm not trying to be mean.
Didn't work out too well.
I just have enough. I feel like maybe, I don't know. I don't mind making new friends, but I'm not hurting for friends. So, I had completely forgot that she had told me that, and I was going to school. I was a full-time student, and I was working full-time on the ambulance, and we were coming up on our midterms, and I told Mary, I had like a week off, and Mary's like, well, it was like spring break. She's like, what do you want to do? And I said, you know what I really want to do? So I want to go to Kim's house, and I want to get drunk, and I want to talk with Kim about music. Like, do you and Kim ever have like sit-downs, powwows?
I don't know. Usually when I'm there getting drunk, everybody's there getting drunk.
Oh, yeah. You get an opportunity to talk to... What's up, by the way, what's up, Kim? Blue Door Sanctuary there in Clifton. Did you know that Mark Kelly, the astronaut, whose wife got shot in the parking lot of...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he stayed there before. He's been at the Blue Door.
Really?
So, yeah. That's what I thought I heard. But anyhow, I told Mary, I said, I want to get drunk with Kim, because a lot of times Kim will drink with me, but she's not going to the moon with me. You know, she'll allow me to
She'll have like 2 glasses of wine.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And I said, I just want to go up there because, you know, we used to live in that church.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite places that the river that runs in front of the church, there's this area that I like to go down when I live there. I'd like to get drunk and. Are you all right?
I'll be fine.
Yeah, God, just stay away from us. He looks pretty ugly. He'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if I get stung,
we get stung. Well, we had it coming, I guess. But I used to like going down to the river right there. You know, it was like by the church. There's like a little walkway.
Yeah.
It was like a sandbar. And I don't know why there's a concrete pillar down there, like a concrete platform that all the sand will build up against, and it's really fine sand. And I like to get like drunk and take my banjo or guitar down there and sleep. I pick my guitar or banjo or sing songs by myself. It's crazy to think how much I used to do it alone. I couldn't imagine how many people are like walking somewhere and they just happen to hear some guy down by the river like just singing his heart out, right, but to himself, by himself.
Oh, I mean, hey, you look at like. You watch old Western movies.
Yeah,
there's always
right.
A guy out there by himself,
like picking away.
Yeah.
And that was it was very therapeutic to sleep down by that water. And so I went to Kim's church, and I was drinking, and I forgot that Dylan was living there because I had never met him yet. I didn't know. And Dylan walks in, and he's like, "Oh, this is Dylan. This is the guy that's renting my room I've been telling you about." And I was I was excited to. It was nice to see him. This bug's gonna fuck us up if we don't take care of it. But you know what? Hold on. Let's go. Am I gonna swat this guy?
You're gonna piss him off.
Dude, God damn it.
How about I try a cigarette?
All right, try a cigarette. Let's see if we can smoke him out. But so, yeah, and you remember Dylan, like when you first met him, like he's like painfully quiet. You remember, like he's
quiet like
all the time, no matter how much you got to know him.
Right. There's very few times you could get him and
to like open up.
Yeah, and
he was rare.
Yeah, he'd have to be pretty drunk, and
even when he was drunk, he still wasn't like loose-lipped like us. Yeah,
like I'm saying, it's very rare.
Right.
You know, like maybe twice I've seen him chat it up, and it's like just you got to catch him at a
right. I've seen him talk. I've seen him talk to Mary, like him open up to Mary, like mother figures. Like I seen him open up to Liz. But like with me, you, and Zach, and the gang, like he was just, he's one of the guys. I feel like everybody had their own personal relationship with them. You know what I mean? Like everybody had their own bond with them. But anyhow, on that night, I didn't know who he was. And I was like, all right, well, we sat in Kim's kitchen and played guitar. He actually picked up the guitar and he sang like a Sublime song. It was pretty good. And I had met my quota of how many beers I was going to have at the church. And by that time it was getting dark and I was going to go down to the river. And Dylan, who has said no more than like 5 words to me, was like, well, can I go with you? And I was like, well.
I mean, you could literally be like, hey, Dylan, so what's your favorite team?
Broncos.
Yeah. all right.
So I was like, well, he did. Even if he was talking a lot, I wanted to go down to that river by myself. Because that's, if you know me, like I really, like after I get so many beers in me, especially at that time, I wanted to be alone. I just like being alone. I like being drunk by myself, like and sleep somewhere by water. That was like my thing, my signature, I guess. And so I was like, yeah, sure, you can go down there. And he walked down there, and I had my banjo. I remember we walked down there with my banjo, and we got down by the water, and just like you're saying, they're like, so who's your football team? Broncos. Like, where are you from? Colorado. Like, the conversation was so fucking minimal.
And just the two of you, so you're trying to pull nails, right?
Yeah, because I don't know where he's at mentally. I'm like, does this guy even want to be down here with me, or does he even like me? I didn't know what to think. But, so of course, all I do is talk. So I'm just talking his ear off. And we sat there and picked I was picking on my banjo, and thank you, girls. All right, bye. And he literally just sat there and listened to me pick my banjo. And then we both like laid on that sandbar and we had drank enough beers, like we both just passed out. So like the first night I met Dylan, we slept by the river together. Yeah.
In tandem.
In tandem. I don't think we were touching, but I remember waking up the next morning like, wow, I don't like how odd that. And I'm in looking back on it now, on all of it, because I got to know Dylan really, really well. He just liked being outside, and he liked being by people. And I imagine he liked, he wanted to be by that rustling water while a banjo's being picked. Who wouldn't? And he fell asleep while I was playing. So I mean, it probably reminded him a lot of home. He wanted to. And looking back on it, I'm really glad we shared that moment, because I tell you what, when I got back to the house, Mary was like, so how was your night at Kim's? And I said, well, I met Dylan. She's like, oh yeah, how was he? I was like, well, we'll probably never hang out again. Little did I know.
Yeah, I do believe you brought him by my house when I met him for the first time.
Yeah, and I don't think there was a mindset that we were going to never not hang out again, but I was like, there wasn't a connection made.
I remember the first time I met Raina.
Yeah, I remember the first time I met Raina too, yeah. And like, what was it? The second time I met Dylan was whenever you fell into the fire. That was the second time ever. It was my birthday.
Which time? Where at?
In my side yard.
Oh yeah. Like I was fully in that thing.
Yeah, you fell directly into the fire.
Backwards.
You'd done you'd fallen from the restroom. So where the fire pit sits on the side patio of our home, when the side patio doors open, there's a direct line of sight to the hallway down the restroom. And I just happened to be, me and Keela were sitting on the, because the fire pit, the edge of it's wide enough, it's built by stone to sit on comfortably. And it's, and so I was looking down the hallway and I seen you come stumbling out of the restroom. And then you're falling head first. I thought you were going to like eat shit like at the end of the hallway. And you fell all the way through the house, and you got all the way out. It's like your head was like leading the way, and your drunken legs couldn't keep up with your body.
Like a moth to flame.
Like a moth. And you ended up, you made it all the way outside, and you sat down on the edge of the fire pit. And I was like, oh shit, I thought for sure he was. Well, I thought you were gonna like fucking spear me and Keela into the fire for a second. Like, yeah, my heart rate spiked for a second. Like, oh, we're all going in. Because it was a pretty big flame too. It was a pretty big fire that night. And you did it, and you sat down next to us. You're like, whoa, that was close. And then fucking fell flat. Your fucking your feet went straight in the air, and you fell backwards, flat back on the fucking fire.
I don't think there was too many coals yet.
It was a straight fucking fire.
Pretty,
And the look on your face was odd because it was like emotionless. Like you were making these really weird sounds as you're trying to pick yourself up off the fire. You're like, go. Oh, go. And I remember I threw my banjo in the air, and Dylan was at the grill, and he had a spatula in one hand, and he grabbed my banjo midair, and we pulled you out of the flame. And that was the second time I hung out with him. I thought, all right, this kid's earning his chops.
Right.
Yeah, like
he started chatting a lot, like when Keela. Came.
Yeah. Well, any like mother figure, he seemed to like open up, and maybe it's because, and I think that's why he hung out at both of our houses as much as he did, is because he's comes from a very family oriented, environment. Yeah. So
we're not too
bachelor-esque. Yeah. So and I remember not that night, and I don't even think he was back in our backyard, but I remember. Did I ever tell you the story about how his drunken dial? How he called me and Zach. The only time I've ever got a drunken dial from Dylan, ever. And he wasn't even posing as himself. He used his company phone to act like he was Greenlee County Sheriff's Office. Did I tell you this story?
I don't think so.
And he says, he messages me from a phone number. It's not showing up. So it's just it's a number. And it says, we have Mr. Archuleta in the holding tank for a DUI. Will you come pick him up? And I'm calling the number because I'm like, I'm not going to text what this is back. I'm going to fucking call. And I called, and nobody's answering. In the voicemail, it's just like, you've reached 520, whatever. It wasn't like it wasn't custom.
Right.
So I was a son of a bitch. Like Dylan might be like
520. He's in Phoenix.
Right? I don't know what it was, but I do remember like. Zach, we were pretty drunk. We were on the side porch drinking, and we were at that point where the night was winding down. Like we couldn't drink anymore. We had reached max capacity.
I don't think
well, at least I was. I don't know if Zach was, but I certainly was like, all right, it's about time for bed. And we got that text, and I woke up Mary, like out of a sleep. I said, Mary, Dylan's in jail, I think, and we're gonna have to go get him. And she's like, well, in Clifton or Safford? I said, he's in Clifton, Greenlee County Sheriffs. They text me. It's like, nobody's gonna text you, Levi. Like she was the only one that was like applying logic to this story. Like, yeah, of course the sheriff's gonna text me, and all of his deputies, group text. And Zach was like really concerned, and he's like, I'm just gonna go get my truck and drive up there. I was like, dude, you're way drunker than I am. Like, you cannot be driving. We're going to drive to the fucking sheriff's office drunk to pick up our drunk friend. We're all going to be in the drunk tank. Checks out. And so I actually did message the phone number back, and they confirmed it. They were like, yes, this is real, whatever it was. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, Mary wasn't buying it. Mary's like, this is maybe a scam. Maybe somebody who knows Dylan, knows you guys, like, maybe they're trying to get money out of you, which sent Zach down a fucking rabbit hole. Because now Zach's calling Greenlee County Sheriff's Office. And he said,
I'll get to the bottom of this.
They're like, do you guys have a Dylan Archuleta in your holding cells? And the woman's like, no. You know, and dude, right? Yeah, Zach is like fucking spiraling. You know, he just drove straight home. I don't even think he said anything to me. He's like, I'm gonna go. If whoever's got him, somewhere between the dispatcher and Zach, the idea came up that he was kidnapped. Yeah, oh yeah, there was like this like out of thin air, this plot was formulating that Dylan had been kidnapped and maybe by some drug dealers, and I don't know where Hackle Road came into play. Like they're probably out on Hackle Road and they've got Dylan tied to a chair.
Or hackling.
Yeah. It was like Zach's like, I got my shotgun. And he actually had me convinced for a minute. I was like, yeah, I'll give my shotgun and we'll just go shoot those guys. And I'm like, but what guys? Like, dude, we're gonna go. Who are we gonna shoot? We don't even have a name. We don't have a location. He had like his.
Did you even try calling him?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Not that night. So he got Bubba, his dog, that mean fucking junkyard dog. Mean as hell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, got Bubba off the leash. We're going to kill somebody, it felt like. And
feed him to Bubba.
Feed him to Bubba, yeah. Like, it was pretty scary. But I remember Mary finally convinced me. Zach had gone home, and Zach was, like, at home, like, cleaning a shotgun, loading it up. He was ready to go fucking kill people that had kidnapped Dylan. Mary convinces me that go to bed. Because even if Dylan's in jail, he's got somewhere to sleep. He's probably been fed, and he's probably fast asleep if this is real. And you guys are going to go wake him up. Like, don't do it. Just go to bed, and in the morning time, we'll figure this out. And thank God, because Mary's,
even if he's not, he could sleep anywhere.
Oh, dude,
literally.
Unbelievable, yeah. Which we should definitely cover in this episode. But so the next morning, I got up, and I went into the kitchen, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to call Dylan. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that yet. Like, we just went on this wild goose chase, on the telephone. So I called Dylan's phone, and he's like, he answers in half a ring. He's like, oh, hello? I was like, Dylan, where are you? He's like, I'm at home. I was like, what the fuck? Were you in jail last night? No. So who the fuck was texting us? He's like, oh. And he has that little giggle. He's like, man, I guess he got really drunk and he texted us that. And like he kind of played along with it for half a second and then just passed out. So like it caused, there was some chaos down here, and come to find out Dylan was fast asleep. It was just a big prank. And I remember it was probably about 2 weeks later, we were on the side porch. Because you ever notice that this house has like, it's like trending spots. Like right now, the bear paws where everybody hangs out. And like last summer, it was the back porch. But those 2 years, it was the side porch.
Right.
That's where everybody hung out. So we're on the side porch, and Dylan and Zach hadn't seen each other since the prank, right? So Dylan came walking into the gate, and Zach was pretty drunk, and he was smoking a cigarette, right? And he told Dylan flat out how it was. He's like, I didn't like that. He's like, you really fucking scared me. I really thought I was gonna have to murder somebody and feed him to my junkyard dog.
He's gonna go to prison while you were sleeping.
You're right. So Zach walked up to him and put his cigarette butt out on his arm, and fucking Dylan like slapped away. He's like, man, that fucking hurt. And he's like, well, shouldn't have done it. And they both looked at each other and said, all right. And they never talked about it again. And it was like this weird pact that I felt like they maybe even had like discussed prior to him showing up. But no, that was a wild night. Our adrenaline was like peaked, like thinking our friend got kidnapped. Another story I forget about sometimes too is, do you remember hearing the story about the time that Dylan and Patrick got too drunk in downtown Tucson, and they were camping at Angela's house. That's where their camp was. That's where they were staying. Well, they got to Angela's house. That was right outside of downtown. They walked to a bunch of bars, and they got Patrick and Dylan drunk, right? Like hammered drunk. Well, when they were walking home, Dylan just sat down in someone's lawn and fell asleep, and Patrick didn't notice it and kept on walking. And he got back to Angela's house, and he's like, Angela's like, well, where's Dylan? Oh, fuck, where is Dylan? And then... So they Angela's like, well, this is downtown Tucson. Like, we gotta find your friend. So Patrick starts panicking and runs out into the night, into the city, like, Dylan!
Probably a whole different direction.
Oh yeah, not even in the ballpark, I imagine. And actually makes his way all the way to the TPD, like their precinct or the downtown police quarters or whatever, walks in there and he's like, have you seen a small drunk cowboy? They're like, yeah, we see him all the time. Like,
This is Arizona.
he's like, no, his name's Dylan. Did anybody come in here? Did anybody get arrested? Named Dylan. And they were looking through their records like, no, nobody's here. And he's like, fuck. So while he was at the police station, Dylan wakes up in someone's yard. He said he woke up in someone's grass. I'm like, where the fuck's Patrick? And he remembered how to get to Angela's house. So he walked to Angela's house and walks in the front door. And Angela's like, Patrick's out right now looking for you. And she's like, just stay here because that's the best thing if we all just stay put. And Dylan's like, absolutely not. Patrick's lost. And into the city he goes, Patrick! You know, so he's looking everywhere for Patrick, who's out looking for him. And then Patrick comes back. And Dylan goes to the police station. And the police are like, he walks in, he's like, have you seen some drunken Irish hippie? He's like, they're like, yeah, we see him all the time. It's Tucson. And then they're like, no, he was in here. He had a bandana on and sandals. Like, yeah, that's my friend. He's like, yeah, he was looking for you, actually. And we told him you weren't here. And he's like, all right. So Patrick now is back at Angela's house. And Angela's like, stay here. Dylan will be back. And sure enough, like, maybe like 30 minutes later, Dylan came walking through the door. It's like, God damn. That's one of my favorite stories. Because I heard.
The last place I'm going when I'm drunk.
Go to a police station, right? I'm like, what the hell's wrong with those guys? You know what other story Patrick and Dylan, man, they have their own little book. They have their own chapter, at least in this book that we have, our friendship book, I guess. But it was Halloween night, and I was on the ambulance. So Halloween night for first responders it's the worst. You know, like you're gonna see all kinds of.
Well, didn't they go as Scooby and Shaggy?
Well, no. What happened was my Brian Fields. What's up, Brian? Out in Hawaii. He lives in Hawaii now. He was in here. He came into the station, and it was like dusk. And he's like, well, boys, it's starting early tonight. I just seen Woody from Toy Story on a motorcycle with Scooby-Doo riding bitch on the back seat, and it was like, holy shit, you know, like kind of made us all laugh. Well, it's actually a pretty uneventful night. Like nothing happened. It was nothing really came from any of it. But I remember I was riding my bike home because I live close enough to the station. I used to ride my bike to and from work. And I'm riding my bike home, and I come around the side porch, and I'm pushing my bike to the side gate, and Dylan had turned. He'd taken all the patio furniture off and made this like fucking king size bed, dude. It looked really comfortable. And he the only downside was like he'd pulled this like there was like blankets everywhere. We have Mexican blankets all over, and he pulled this like nasty blanket out from underneath something, and it's like a blanket that like our dogs
from underneath the house.
Yeah, our dogs have given birth to litters of puppies on it. You know, like it'd been like washed in the rain and dried by the. Yeah, dude, all kinds of shit. He's like covered up to his chin with this blanket, you know. And I sat down. I sat down pretty, you know, in a chair close to him. I was like, "So you guys have fun last night?" Like, yeah, we had a lot of fun. I think you want to say like they got into a bar fight, or Jim got into a bar fight, and they ended up walking all the way from the bullpen back to the neighborhood. Yeah. And I asked him, why didn't you just go inside? He's like, well, I didn't want to wake up Mary. I was like, should you just sleep outside? Like, you could have gone inside. And he's like, well, yeah, whatever. And I was like, well, let's go inside and get some breakfast. He's like, all right. And he rips the blanket off him, and he's got the fucking Woody costume. I was like, wait, you're Woody?
He makes a good Woody.
Yeah.
He does.
I was like, you're fucking Woody. I said, well, was Patrick Scooby? He's like, yeah. I was like, were you guys driving around your motorcycle last night? He's like, yeah, in the beginning of the night, me and Patrick had to go get Patrick cigarettes. I was like, yeah, my buddy at work seen you guys. Yeah. Yeah, he's a hoot, man. He's always fun to have around.
He was the guy, you know, he would linger. But, you know, like he would come for a day.
Oh, and it'd be like
and then
fucking 3 days.
Yeah, he'd be there exactly. Like 3 days. It's like, well, I gotta work tomorrow. So yeah,
no, he would come and hang out. Like,
and you never get tired. Never get tired of it.
Right. He would come here and hang out, like, especially before he met Raina. Dude, he would like come over and hang out. And, like, I remember, like you said, it was like 3 days. Like I had already like slept my hangover away. I had like run and done chores. Like like run around town, like running errands with him. And I remember it was like the third day he was here, and I'd fallen asleep like on the couch in the living room, and I woke up and it was like evening, like the daylight was different, you know, like falling asleep for a while, and I woke up and Mary and Dylan are in the kitchen like preparing dinner. I can hear them talking, you know. It was like, it was like, dude, this guy is forever. Like he's
not leaving,
dude. Right? And like, but the thing is, like, as soon as he left, you kind of got like irritated that he left. Well, you didn't want to hang out anymore.
What, you had enough of me?
He would hang around. He would hang for a while, man, and that's. Kim said the same thing. Kim said like he like whenever he first moved in there that he would just hang around, like, but everybody loved his company because he always seemed to know where to pitch in with help, like around the house, you know, he'd wash dishes.
Oh man, and at the farm, man, he loved it over there because, dude, he's all like, well, what do you need help with?
Right.
You
Oh yeah,
like,
he's always in it.
Me, you know, put posts in for my gate.
Yeah.
And
like he would like to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to stop him from working. Like, all right, dude, we worked enough
today. He wanted to go down to the chicken coop and
check stuff.
We had a couple turkeys he liked. So
remember he was he found one of your goats with his head stuck in the fence. Saved that fucking goat's life. Yeah, there was you know, it's wild to think that like, so Dylan was in our life for 3 years. It doesn't add up.
Was that it?
Yeah. 3 years, man. I maybe a little more, but it's not like by much.
Yeah.
It's an impossible number to wrap around my head because, like, I don't.
Because he was constantly there, so it just seemed like
a lifelong friend.
Right,
I've known him my whole life.
Right.
And he always, like, so.
He pushed his way into our group.
For sure. And, like, I didn't think he would. So after the second time we hung out, I was like, this is like a young college kid. He's got a college degree. You know, he's got his whole life ahead of him. I don't think he's going to want to hang out. Because, like, a lot of people, they pretend like they're down for the cause. And when I say down for the cause, I mean, like, they're down for marching 2 miles in the wilderness with the, you know.
Doing anything at any time.
Oh, I remember where we went to, we mountain biked. So, you know, on the back side of Fry Mesa, that's like a 90-degree drop.
Yeah. We, like,
carried our bikes.
Was he with you when Search and Rescue was?
No, that was like so many years earlier. But he was. We rode that same trail. Me and him and Zach. Oh man, it's nuts. You know, and to go back to what you're saying though, like that fucking dude would sleep anywhere.
Anywhere.
Dude, I've seen him sleep on a pile of trash. Yeah, I've seen him.
Just bunch it all up.
Well, he said that he slept in your dog's bed a lot on the porch. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot actually. Like, you know, there's a couch right there by it.
Yeah. No. I remember he came over one day and he was telling me a story that one night you guys were getting fucking really drunk at your house, and you guys were drinking a lot of. At that time, it was like whiskey and cokes. So you guys were drinking like these tall plastic cups with whiskey and coke. Oh, yeah. And you guys were inside like watching like highlights from a football game or something. And it was towards the end of the night, and you guys were both blacked out around the same time. And you guys just both dumped like half a gallon of alcohol all over Rachel's cows.
Oh, she had a fucking...
She was
we were trying to clean it up real quick.
She was not having it. Dylan told me that the next morning after Rachel abruptly woke you guys up and told you guys to get the fuck out on the porch. And he said you came outside and like lit up a cigarette. You're like, how'd you sleep last night, man? He was like, well, I slept all right until your wife woke up and was banging pots and pans. And you said, well, who the fuck's pots and pans?
Why is she banging pots and pans? Little whore.
Yeah, he got a big fucking kick out of that. I think he may have drove straight here just to tell me that. He was always a pleasure to have in those, because like he was like a real ride or die. You know, if you tell him like, if I were to call Dylan, like let's say he was alive today and we called him like, hey Dylan, we're stuck at the river. Just outside of Phoenix, and we're gonna need a ride. But will you bring us beer too?
Oh
yeah, I'll be right there.
with beer and liquor
and like
what else do you need?
And he get his truck stuck next to you and just camp out.
It's like we'll call a truck tomorrow.
Never worried.
No,
dude, he never heightened.
I've never ever seen him get excited like
about anything.
Yeah,
I've never seen him like, which is weird. It always like throws me out because it feels like, how did this guy click so well with us? Because we're
he did have some. He was humorous.
Fucking hilarious.
He was humorous, but I think his humor
very subtle.
And that's what we liked about him was his subtle humor.
Right.
That he's like just.
It wasn't like where me, you, and Zach are constantly clawing for the spotlight on camping trips.
Right, trying to get the last pun in.
Right, he was just a participant.
Right.
And I really love that. I love that about him, man. I remember, and I felt like he was always up. And I remember he had always like one time we were driving from Walmart over here, and you remember like there was like a local politician, and his last name was Kirkpatrick. And Dylan used to laugh at this sign. I'm like, what's so funny about it? He's like, I just can't stop thinking about what if Patrick's last name was Kirkpatrick, and he used to pretend like he just made up this whole scenario in his head to pretend to be like Kirkpatrick's mother, like yelling at him from the back porch, like, Kirkpatrick, get your ass in here now.
It's like he had 3 kids you're yelling at, and 2 of them were named Patrick.
Yeah, he used to fucking get a big. Every time we passed one of those Kirkpatrick signs, man, he'd give a little chuckle. Yeah, so he was humorous. He was witty. He'd catch on things. Did you guys have a show? Did you guys used to watch together by any chance?
Football.
Was it just football?
We watched a lot of football. I don't know. Because I'll watch movies and shit. We would watch westerns.
Right.
Like old movies.
All westerns, yeah.
Shit Rachel won't watch.
Right.
Know? I'm like, well.
And he was good, like, cause he'd watch whatever you put on.
Yeah,
like,
whatever. I could put on SpongeBob.
You'd be like, all right, I guess this is what we're watching.
There's nothing else on, buddy. We're watching SpongeBob.
And he'd watch. He'd watch it. Dude, no complaints. Yeah. We used to watch a lot of King of the Hill. And it's sad now, man. I know that sometimes like I feel uncomfortable watching that show with my family because there's times where I'm laughing, but I'm also like I'll start crying because I remember the one we were watching the episode together. It was the one time I actually heard him like belt out a laugh, like he wasn't a chuckle. He's like,
huh?
Yeah, he like right. In this episode, Hank Hill's father lived with the Hill the residents for a little bit for some reason.
Cotton.
Cotton and Bobby Hill and Cotton were butting heads, and Bobby.
They were the same height.
Yeah, Bobby starts disrespecting his grandfather, and Hank steps in and says, "Bobby, don't disrespect your grandfather. He was over there in World War II defending Texas." And it was one of those moments where I watched Dylan actually like laugh like out loud. So that's a show that I kind of choose when I watch it. I try not to watch it because it's one of my favorite shows, but it makes me sad sometimes, especially when I'm watching something that I know Dylan would find funny. It's not. It kind of breaks me up a little bit, but yeah. And I don't really remember him having any favorite movies.
I couldn't name it if he did.
Yeah, I mean, because he wasn't a movie guy. He had an amazing taste in music, though. Like, fucking phenomenal.
He liked a lot of bluegrass.
Yeah, country.
Everything.
Well, yeah, but I remember we'd be camping, and, like, he'd put on his phone, and, the random, and it would, like, we'd be listening to, like, his thing was, like, the WuTang Clan. I'm like, huh. An atmosphere. So, like, me and Dylan listened to a lot of, like, hip-hop, like, underground hip-hop, like, and I would have never guessed the first time I met him that, like, that's what he'd be into. But he also, like, he had a lot of surprises, man. He would just bring things up sometimes, like, oh, shit, I didn't.
It's like, how, like, the age difference, too.
Oh, it's wild, right.
He was, like, what, 10 years younger than us? And, man, he was worldly,
Oh, very worldly, yeah. He had, like, a little bit of, he knew a little bit of everything. It felt like I remember one time we were talking about Thrasher, and he was like telling me
he was full of shit.
Well, no, because like sometimes he would it would be factual. Like he was talking to me about like how Thrasher was published in San Francisco, and I thought, all right, I don't know how. Like, do you skate? Like, no, not really. When I was a kid, I used to skateboard kind of sometimes. I'm like, man, how do you know so
when
much?
He said that, I think I told him, I said, so like you carried a board, huh?
Poser. He but he always he seemed to have like a little bit of a know in just about. And remember, he'd always learn songs on his guitar, and he'd bring them to the like camping, and then it was always like a really cool song that everybody really seemed to like. What was the one? Much Too Young to Be This Damn Old by George Strait.
Oh, yeah.
I used to play that one a lot.
Corpus Christi Bay.
Yeah, Corpus Christi Bay was everybody's favorite.
He sung it well.
Still, it's not. I don't even like the original song. I don't hear it as well as like Dylan played it.
I mean, I love the way Dylan played it.
Yeah, me too. And that's how I'm with all my friends. Like all of my friends that play instruments, I feel like I like their version of songs more than the original, and especially with Dylan with that song. That was certainly like his song. And he heard it, and he'd always show me songs. Well, have you ever heard this song? Remember that song you sing? I don't even know if I've ever heard it since. All Right Guy.
Yeah.
He used to play that one a lot too.
I thought he made that up.
No, he was because in fact I did hear it on a XM radio at work one time. It came on. I was like, oh shit! So there's a song that Dylan used to sing all the time.
Yeah. All Right Guy. It fit him.
No, it certainly did. Remember, and it's wild to think about too, like how instinctual he was about the wilderness. It was like hanging out with like a Blackfoot Indian, from 200 years ago. Like he would just know things.
Well, I mean, he learned a lot from his grandfather.
Right. He was a wealth of knowledge. So he killed that turkey, which the turkey feathers we all wear in our cowboy hats. So he killed that turkey. Took those turkey feathers and put them on his arrows that he killed his last deer with. Fletched his own arrows with those feathers, and then killed a deer, and that's a deer that we all.
And remember the javelina.
Did he kill that with his bow?
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah.
On your property?
No.
Oh, it was on your property?
No, he brought it to my property and we processed it.
Well, did you guys gut it and dress it there at your?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's where we made all the sausage.
Yeah, I had so many of those.
Now, I'm all like, well, let's go ahead and eat up that backstrap, right?
Right.
It's like, nope. It's going home to mom and dad because he was getting ready to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Go home for a couple weeks. And I'm like, come on, man, just a little bit. Nope. So we made sausage, we cured it, and then we had like this big barbecue. You were there, all your kids.
Yeah, no, he had.
Dude, these kids ate this up. We had a mix 50-50. We had put pork in it because it was so lean.
Right.
And then even after cooking it, it was still so lean, but it was delicious.
Oh my God!
Pretty good.
And you guys pulled some green chilies out of your garden. So you mix it was like green chili, and javelina, cheese,
and we put cheese in
pork links.
Yeah.
Oh, and I remember I was sober as a church mouse because I had to work the next day. I didn't even have a single beer. I had so many of those fucking things. Like Mary finally stepped in and was like, "How many of those are you gonna actually eat?" And I said, "I can't stop eating them."
40 of them.
Dude, I ate so many of them that I went outside and vomited. And I still was like appealing. Like I was like, man, I probably could have a couple more of those. Yeah.
It tastes good coming back up even.
And I've since then, I don't think I've ever had anything like as good. So I've been like studying hunting javelinas myself just to try to like duplicate whatever it is you guys did. And then you remember the way he used to prepare his catfish.
Oh yeah.
Oh dude, man.
Yeah, he showed me the batter he uses. Oh yeah.
How did he get it so even though? Because you ever eat like you eat other people's catfish, there always seems to be like some part that's like.
I'll tell you what, man. His family taught him to cook very well.
Now off the show, would you tell me? Did he tell you how to do it? No. Or no, you just watched?
Nah, I just let him do his thing.
Yeah. Damn, I'm old. I remember Mary and I.
It was like an assembly line, right?
Was it?
So yeah, I mean, we were all busy doing our own thing, but he was.
Well, that we had, and he had that for things. We had that Thanksgiving too, huh? We had the catfish.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Well, maybe it wasn't. No, it wasn't that one because there's another one where I remember being on the porch and it was like raining out. It was like winter time, so it was like raining out, and I'm eating catfish, and for every piece of catfish, I'm taking a drink of my Corona, and I thought, this is about as good as it gets, dude.
Best catfish
ever. Yeah, he's always good at catching. He just, him and Casey. Casey was out. Casey could look at any body of water, just like Dylan, and they would be like, the fish are there. And he just point at some random, stir of rocks. And, I don't know how he knew. Those kind of guys just know. And Dylan was certainly one of them, man. He'd know. He'd know where everything was. When we mountain biking, like out in the backcountry.
My boy Zach kind of reminds me of Dylan a
little.
bit.
Really? Does he have that?
He's always out there on the river, just.
Well, the more time you
show up with
fish,
catfish, like you didn't even bring a pole.
Well, the more time you spend in the wilderness, like you undoubtedly become like. Have you ever hung out with somebody from the city that doesn't spend any time in the wilderness?
Yeah,
it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, they get out there and they're just like,
bugs.
As soon as they start like they stay in their tent with their windows like just screened up,
right? It's not
just to stay away from the bugs.
It's not for everybody, and and that's why the Dylan the bond was so tight with Dylan. I think was because he just jumped right in. I'll buy beer. I'll carry that ice chest.
Yeah,
I'll be the first to jump in the water.
He would never show up without
something.
Right.
Yeah.
He had something to bring to the table every time.
Every time. Yeah. And do you remember? So I don't know if I've ever told you this story or not, but the last time me and Dylan ever hung out, me and my it's kind of an odd story, but me and my family decided that we were going to go out to Bonita Creek, and it was that winter. It was that spring from all that snow melt. So it was like raging. That water was
right.
And we went to the very end of the trail. We parked. The girls got out. I actually didn't want any of the kids near the water because it was running that heavily. But I wanted to see, so I actually walked to the shoreline, and then I walked up maybe like 300 yards, just because I wanted to see around this bend and see where the water, what it looked like up the way a bit. And I started hearing screaming. Yeah, it was really weird. And it was two guys, and they're screaming. And I didn't hear the word help, but I know it sounded like they were distressed. And it sucks because, like, as a first responder, I'll probably never not be this guy, but if somebody's in danger, then it's going to be my life before theirs. At least I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure whoever. So when these guys are coming down the river, or I heard these voices, they're coming around the bend. It was two guys in one canoe, and they were having so much fun. They were screaming.
I could see that.
And then they went right by us. But I remember, like, just it made me feel sick hearing the screaming. And then they went by me. They didn't even see me. I was like in the brush, and they went down by my family. When I walked back, I asked them, "Did you guys hear those guys? Did you guys see those guys?" And like, nobody's seen them. Are they really? And I looked around, like, where anybody could, like, have poured it out or, like, picked up. Like, I didn't see. It's nothing, but it just, given what was coming up in the next 2 weeks, it was, it's odd. So, but I don't remember calling anybody either. But Dylan just showed up. Like, I don't remember telling him out of the blue. Like,
right out there in Bonita, huh?
It's like an hour drive.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the hell? I didn't care. I was just happy he was there. Maybe Mary messaged him. I didn't care, but
I think he had GPS on all this.
He might have, man, because he'd always seem to show up at the right time.
Trail cams at our house. GPS on us.
And he showed up, and he had 2 tall cans of that kilt lifter, and he's like, "Hey, man, you want to drink today?" I was like, "You bet I do." And I had a few beers with me. Whoa, this fucking stool's about to die. It's about. Yeah, I need a. Is it anyhow? So I need to stand for a second, anyways. Right. He pulled up and he's like, "But I got a surprise for you guys. I'm real excited to show you. I can't wait to show you guys what I brought for you today." And I was like, "All right." So we sat there and drank beers, and immediately, like, my nephew Matt, we're just making him do cartwheels off the bench and, like, hurt himself, because Matt's up for it, swing off, jump out of this tree into that one. And Dylan and Matt too also got along heavily because they're like they kind of it felt like they were very much the same person. They had the same spirit. Like they were both outside, like the kind of person that they just look natural outside. You know, like that's, and so like
homeless.
Well, both of them. Hold on one second. Let me grab this. And dude, this stool that we gotta decommission this. We need to go get some more stools. But we went back. We drove back. I asked Mary if I could drive back with Dylan, and we're driving back, and he said, "I got us moose steaks." So he had like, I'd never even heard of a moose steak. I didn't know that it was a thing. I didn't know, like I didn't know. And he
it was a moose steak.
It was one big mistake. He brought out this tray, and there was like 6 or 7 thick cut steaks. And I was like, and he had seasoned them already, so they were pre-seasoned, marinated and whatever. Because you know how he's such a good cook too. You know, like whatever he cooked, it was always like top of the line.
And he could just use salt, pepper, and olive oil.
He'll dig through the fucking cabinets and just pull whatever out. You know, like he'd be like, oh, here's some old tahini or fucking beer salt they forgot about, and put this in the eggs. He's always cooking up some.
I've never had anything terrible.
No, me neither.
Not even remotely.
And it's wild to think that the drunker he got, the better he got at it.
No, and me and Rachel, we have like so he was making us tacos.
Yeah.
I think it was moose tacos he was making us, and he was just lightly frying the corn tortillas, and he told me, he's like, count to 10. You know, on each side.
Yeah.
And it was so soft, and Rachel's like, no, he didn't. She still argues to me this day. and I do that,
right.
And it's just so good to me.
Right.
This is exactly how he prepared it for me.
Dylan taco.
And she's like, no, he didn't cook it that soft, because it was soft, it was cooked.
It was
so soft.
It wasn't breaking apart. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't breaking apart. It just, no effort to chew through it.
Right. And there's a lot of reasons, obviously, like I miss Dylan. There's a lot of reasons that I would.
But I could do those just like he did.
Right.
Before. Yeah.
That's one, man. I wish just one more. I like 24 hours, my buddy. One more.
I don't have the moose.
Yeah. I mean, we'll go find our own moose.
Some Arizona moose.
Some Arizona moose. But we got home that night, and he's just started cooking. My whole family. He's cooking us up on the back porch. He's got the grill going. He's cooking us up these steaks, and whenever we ate, and then we ended up in the garage picking. I had my banjo, and he had his guitar, and we were just we went live on Facebook, is what it was. And we're like, it was pretty fun. I don't know. I don't remember why we did it, but we asked Mary to give us a ride to what's the name of that? Oh, JD's. We watched one half of a fucking round, and then like Nate ended up giving us a ride back. Like we were in JD's for less than 12 minutes. Mary dropped us off. We walked in the building. Spring gave us a beer. We drank it. The fight that we sat down to watch, the guy gets knocked out cold. Boom. And Nate's like, well, we're out of here. So we just jumped in the car. Nate, we were back in the carport in under 20 minutes. Mary's like, I thought I dropped you guys off.
Yeah, we watched the fight. we watched what was supposed to be a fight.
Right. And we sat there the rest of the night. Now, unfortunately, it starts to get a little heavier, But he started talking to me. Like not normal, like where he's being Levi or Jason or Zach, just less absurd, and
he's a lot more polite than
me. Extremely. So he told me
better.
Yeah, he wasn't raised by coyotes. He's telling me that first he tells me I'm going to marry Raina, and I was expecting that.
Right.
I mean, I figured eventually.
About time.
Yeah, right. Do you remember though, real quick? Do you remember whenever he first started seeing Raina, and we're like, man, where the fuck's this girl? I think you're lying. I think you're making this up. This girl
kept her from.
Oh yeah, for a while, and I was like,
a few weeks.
I was like, are you? And I could understand, like, yeah, we're we're a bunch of pirates, dude.
Yeah.
I understand. For a guy like you, you know,
Don't
like
wanna scare her away.
right, yeah, and
It probably took him a few weeks just to say,
build up.
hey, look, so they're a little bit like this, and then the next week, well, they're also like this. And then, you know, like
he had to prepare her
Yeah.
for. But he did tell me. He said, "You don't want her to meet us." He said, "No, I don't want her to meet me," because he said I would get the real me. He said I would get drunk and stumble all over the place, and I was like, all right. I mean, fair enough. And then yeah, we actually got to meet her, and you know, it's become like a family member, like everyone else. In the Archuleta is a beautiful, beautiful family. But yeah, he said I'm going to marry Raina, and of course it was the big congratulations. We were both pretty drunk, and he told me, he said, I just love you, man. He's telling me he loves me. He said, I love you. I love Jason. I love Zach. I love all you guys. Like, when we get married, I want you guys to be a part of the wedding to some capacity. I don't know to what. He said, my brother's going to be my best man, and we'll figure it out. But I want you guys mean that much to me. And like, so the night was winding down, and Mary was putting away her laundry, and she overheard it. And like, and of course, you know, I'm feeding off this. So I'm also telling him how much I love him. And, you know, Mary said after Dylan's service, she said, it sounded like a farewell from both of you. She said it really did. Like you guys were telling each other how much you love each other and how important you guys are to each other. And then he fell asleep on that fucking chair outside. and it's such a classic Dylan moment. You know, it was the first time he told me that he was gonna go work for the Border Patrol. He had his whole plan. He was
telling me that.
Yeah, he's gonna marry or he's gonna ask Raina to marry him on the trip to Cabo. Did he? Yeah. So I was like, this guy's life is unfolding in front of him. And then the next morning you guys showed up, and then we all went out to eat to Jerry's. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was the last time that we were all together. That was a group. Yeah. But and then after that, we all know I never seen him again.
So he shortly after that he got in contact with me, and he's like, hey man, so the river, let's do the river. You know? Just down to the byway from your house, you know, which is 6 miles on the river.
Right.
That's it. You know, and usually it takes 2 to 4 hours in the summer.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Like not too much of a stream going on. I said, yeah, that'll be good. It was my one day off in my short change on my schedule. So I said, yeah, just a quick trip, you know. And so he shows up. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. And
oh shit! I didn't realize it was that.
Well, that's when he showed up.
Oh. All right.
So we bullshit for a minute, and then it's like, all right, well, whose vehicle you want to leave at the end? He's like, I'll leave my truck there. So I followed him down the byway road, you know, left his truck there, and then he's leaving his truck. He takes his key and he goes and stashes it.
Right.
You know,
on the truck, or
yeah, on the truck. And I'm looking at him, and I told him, I swear to God, this is true. I said, now I know where it is, just in case, you know.
Oh, no.
God, dude.
How?
And he chuckled.
Yeah.
So we got in my truck, and we hit three-way up, got a pint of Captain and a 6-pack of Bud Light.
Is that why you take his Bud? Is that why you take that?
Yeah.
Every year we go to his bench. I've always wondered, why is he, and nobody drinks it. I don't know. It makes.
I'm sure somebody gets it.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
But,
some homeless vagrant makes out like a bandit.
It's March 3rd.
March 3rd. Now I know to get go get my drink on.
So we picked up a pint and a 6-pack, and went back to my place. We got the kayaks out at the river, parked my truck back at the house, and walked back to the kayaks.
What time was that?
I would say it was probably 10:30ish.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't remember. It's, been 3 years.
All right.
And so as we're heading out the door got everything we needed, headed out the door, Rachel's pulling into the driveway, you know, and I said, hey, he had the bottle in his hand. And it's just a pint, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, hide that. I don't want to know we're drinking it.
Right.
You know. It was 10 o'clock in the morning or so.
Were you guys out in the water for that long?
We were not. No. So we get to the river, and once we get there and set off, because I was like, wow, man, the river's really wide.
Where'd you guys launch? You guys launched at Grove of Trees or down by the railroad tracks?
It was over in the, like after the bridge that crosses the river.
Yeah.
It was right in that sand area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, man, the water had to have been from bank to bank probably.
Oh, that was the most water I've ever seen.
30, 40 feet.
Right, in my life.
And I was like, once we got in there and set off, before he was in there, I was already 50 feet down. I was like, it's going to be a quick trip, bro. Little did I know it'd be the longest trip ever. But, so we get going and we stop at the next bend and, you know.
You guys got out of the water?
Yeah, we got out once. Usually where we always stop whenever.
Oh, at that bend where me, you and him got out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I got a really cool picture of you two there, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But we got out there. I think we finished the pint right there.
Right.
And he ended up taking, like, it was, you know,
you guys going back
shots,
and forth. Right.
And then he ended up, like, taking the last bit. Like, I was like, man, you owe me.
Right.
Like, you took a little more than half.
Right.
But we each had 3 beers, but we had the beers after, you know, like, on the way.
Right. Oh, you guys were drinking on the water?
Right. There was actually still a beer bottle in my kayak when they gave it back to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I should have kept it.
You probably should have. I would have.
Might be there still. I don't know.
Where's that kayak at?
Mine's in my garage. Yeah.
Did you ever get on it or look at it?
No.
Where's Dylan's?
I gave it.
Cody?
No.
Raina?
They didn't want it, so I gave it to Zach. Zach's got it.
Ours? Like?
Yeah.
Zach?
Yeah.
Zach?
He should have it.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he
Yeah.
does. The thing I didn't even like fucking looking at it when it came. But anyhow.
So we started going and as we're going down the river's getting narrower and narrower.
Which probably making it faster, right?
Right. And we're about a half mile from our destination. And all of a sudden, like I'm towards the shore kind of, and he's more towards the cliff side. And all of a sudden, it was weird. Like I hit like a root of a tree that was growing in the river underneath the water surface.
Okay,
and it just flipped me like instant. Like it was no rocking. It just it dumped me.
Right.
It dumped me, and my kayak. You know, it's not. It's when you sit in, not on. So it just sunk. All that was on the surface was about 1.5 feet of the tip, and I came up and I grabbed onto that.
Holy
and I
shit!
Was like, holy cow! I never touched bottom right there. So I was thinking, shit.
Damn, that's deep.
That's what I was thinking. So this whole time, that's in my mind that it's that deep. Probably everywhere in this area. So I get up, my glasses, dude.
Well, you get up. You get back up.
No, I'm just hanging on top there. I lost my glasses. I lost my shoes, and I told Dylan. I said, "Yeah, Dylan, I lost my glasses." And he turned and he's like, "You lost your glasses?" I said, "Yep." And I'm looking around, and then I look back and he's gone. Like his kayak is flipped and was sucked up against a tree that had like fallen sideways, and so it was sucked up against that tree, and he was gone. And I was like kind of chuckling, like haha, I'm not the only one.
It just happened to me.
Right. And then so I pointed the nose of that the kayak I was on, I pointed it towards his, and I just started riding it towards him. And I could see the opening of his kayak, you know, like to where you sit in. I could see that part, you know. So I figured he was just, you know, floating down the river. So I go, and as soon as the nose touches his, it just slammed, like went sideways up out of the water and slammed up against his. So they're sandwiched together up against this log.
Right.
And it was so fast. As that happened, it tried sucking me underneath, both of them, in that log, and I grabbed onto the opening of mine, and it took some strength, dude. I climbed up on top of them, and I'm looking around. I'm standing on these kayaks, dude, that are pinned, and I'm like, well, where'd Dylan go? So I'm like, he's got to be down river, you know. I'm like, so I'm yelling, and then I'm realizing this is serious.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, well, shoot, the force it tried sucking me under with, like, it freaked me out.
Now, was that about the time you're realizing, like, he's been underwater that long? And
well, I figured, I said, well, it's not likely he's under there.
Yeah.
You know, this was going through my mind, but I'm gonna check from the backside, because that side tried sucking me under, and I don't know what it's gonna, you know, do if I go under.
So
there.
you crawled over the kayaks.
I was standing on these kayaks, and the tree was right here. So I went to the tree, and there was a branch sticking up, kind of like at a angle, and so I grabbed onto that branch after yelling because I was just waiting for someone to yell back. Yeah. You know, it was on the shore, maybe a little. Nope. So so I'm like, I'll just check it out, see if he's in this area, and I grabbed onto that branch. It was at an angle, and you know, went underwater and started frailing my arms around one of my arms, you know, to see if I could feel anything, and I hit his leg.
On the other side?
It was probably right under that log where I hit his leg with my hand, and I grabbed it, and came down to his ankle, and I grabbed a hold of it with one arm, and I had, so all that's keeping me from going right now is I got a hand on the branch and a hand on his leg. Yeah. And I said, well,
was he moving?
Stuck. No, didn't move at all. And this was less than a minute of me seeing him gone, you know. Right. So I'm guessing he was taken so quickly that he swallowed water probably right away. Yeah. I'm guessing. Right. And that's what I tell myself.
Right. Well, I mean,
you know?
you're anyhow. Go on. I won't.
Yeah. So I have his ankle in one hand, and so it's like, well, hopefully I can break him loose to wherever he's on, and if the water takes us, it takes us. But I could probably get him to shore, you know. Right. And I'm thinking to myself, I can resuscitate, because there's, you know, he's not frailing or nothing, like he's still, he's out cold. So I let go of the branch with the other arm, and I go down and I grab onto his leg with both arms, and I start just frailing him with the current and me, you know, like trying to just get him to come. And then I tried like climbing his body to where he was, and I got to him like right at his thighs, you know, and that was as far as I could go, and it just kept slipping me backwards, and like so I grabbed onto the log when I got there, you know, like I grabbed on the log and pulled myself back up and started like kicking, like stomping at the kayaks, right, trying to break him loose. I'm like, well, I didn't see him when they came together. I didn't see him there, right. but maybe he is stuck in between them. I don't know. Maybe he was coming out when it came.
Yeah, it's
what so many questions.
Yeah,
so many questions I have.
Yeah, but, and very confusing.
So I'm stomping at it, and they're not budging at all. And I'm like, and I go at it for about another 5 minutes probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like forever. And I'm yelling for help, you know, like through this canyon. Maybe somebody's out there.
Right.
You know, and so finally I exhaust myself. I get tuckered out, you know.
Yeah. Well, you're human.
So I start thinking, I'm like, dude, I better V-line it for shore.
Oh, you're not gonna.
All right, yeah, I'm just too exhausted. I could barely probably swim right now, you know, like. So and it's only maybe 12 feet to shore.
Yeah.
But with the quickness it's going, I ended up like 30 feet down.
Right. Past where you originally thought you were.
Right, and I just kind of dove off that log and ended up to the shore, and I had to claw my way up the shore. It was so muddy and slippery.
Right.
And it's about 1.5 feet, you know, upward, and you know,
right.
and so I'm barefoot. I can't see, you know. I gotta, you know.
Sounds when I think about you two, and I think about that day, I think about that walk. I think what a long, horrible fucking walk. I couldn't imagine what was going through your mind. I mean, it probably didn't. Like, I imagine you're in shock. It's shock. You were in shock, I imagine.
Well, so I walked about a half mile barefoot through rocks, sticks, and sand.
Yeah.
Not too much sand in between.
Right.
So it is a rough walk, but as I was getting closer to our destination, there's a bridge right there, and I saw a couple vehicles driving towards, you know, our destination point.
The Safford Bridge right there?
So yeah. So I started, you know, like yelling and kind of like trying to flag them down, you know, and wind was in it was in my...
it was working against you.
Yeah. So I had to get up like down near right on them until they knew I was there, and they saw me coming up waving, and they're like, "Hey!"
Because you knew them, right?
And it turns out I knew I worked with one of the guys before, and
how long into did they realize like that this wasn't a cordial?
Well, I mean, at this time, my voice is damn near
gone,
shot because I was yelling so much, and I get to run up to them, and until they see my face, they really like. They didn't know until they saw my face. And actually, I never really had a problem breathing, I think, until about that point. Right. You know, like...
Once the adrenaline started wearing off.
And I couldn't breathe. Luckily, one of them had like
inhaler,
and I was able to catch my
breath.
I
forgot about your asthma.
Well,
whatever it is.
That has developed over the years, you know. Probably from my smoking.
I'd imagine it contributes.
At this point, about 3 men head that direction. I told them, I said, well, I said, might as well just call, you know, the sheriff's office. Right. I said, he's dead, man. I said, you know, I wasn't that calm about it, but I said, there's no way.
Right.
I said, he's right where I left him.
If he was unconscious a minute after you were trying to pull his legs out from underneath, then he's, you know.
Yeah. There's no coming back. Yeah.
And that, you know, I never heard the story in that detail ever. I've heard the story multiple times from you. Typically, we're pretty drunk when you tell that story. This is the first time I've heard it like that in that detail. That was pretty fucking hard to listen to.
Let me drown my sorrows.
It's all that, like the whole everything after that. To me, because I remember getting called at work, Mary, my boss, it's funny now because my supervisor, Walker, he pulls me, aside and he says, "Do you know somebody named Mary?" At this point he didn't know, he doesn't know me well enough to know that that's. I said, "I do." So yeah, she's trying to get a hold of you. She said it's an emergency. And man, I tell you, when I look back on this memory,
the emergency was over.
Yeah, it wasn't an emergency at that point. Well, I mean, it was. The thing is
it was a tragedy.
It was a tragedy at that point. Yeah, and Mary, the words from that phone call, I think will probably carry with me like my rest of my life.
Even if you go senile, you'll remember.
I'll remember that conversation. I'll remember that conversation. I'm pretty sure if I were to go into a coma, I would still remember that because Mary's not an excited. She's like Dylan. Like they don't get excited for anything.
Right.
Like good God, like anything could happen. Like the Misfits could perform live in our living room, and Mary would be like, "This is pretty cool, I guess." All right. And but when I heard her in that tone, the words she was using didn't add up in my brain. Because I didn't even know you guys were kayaking. I didn't know you guys were even together or when anything was even happening. And Mary said, "Hey, Dylan and Jason, they were down at the river, and we can't find Dylan. He's gone." She wasn't. I don't even think she was thinking right. And in my mind, I'm like, "Well, let's go get him. Like, why are you calling me? Like, I'm at work. Go get Zach and round up the gang and go find Dylan." Then that's seriously where I was.
Right.
Until her voice broke and she said, "No, Dylan's gone. Dylan's no longer with us, Levi. Dylan died this afternoon." And my brain, it was like so many minutes. It felt like to wrap my mind around the words, and I felt nothing. Like, it was wild, man. I felt nothing. I told my supervisor, "I gotta go." So one of my best friends just drowned, and I said he drove me down in his truck down to the parking lot, and then I drove home, and I don't remember any of that. I don't remember driving from the parking lot at work to the house. I don't remember any of it. If I was in a court of law, if I had to stand in front of a judge and he said, "Where were you between this?" I don't fucking know.
I do that a lot on the way home because I have to pass that area.
Yeah.
And I just
keep. Yeah.
I just can't.
Well, I remember whenever I got to the farm, I remember one of the first indicators of like this was serious. Like this was serious. This wasn't a joke or this wasn't exaggerated. Was I seen your boy Zach with tears in his eyes? And he's a country bumpkin, he's a farmhand. He doesn't fucking cry. He's a country boy. I looked at it. I was, "Oh fuck, this is it." And then I seen you, and then the rest is fucking history, man. It was like the following months were so. It was like a 6-month funeral.
Well, that's because they couldn't. After they dislodged them, taking out the kayaks. It took them 2 days to get those kayaks dislodged.
Right.
Because the water was running so heavily for their safety. I mean,
that was the most water I'd ever seen in my life, man. That water, and even after, remember, we kept on going back to the river after he passed away because it was still flowing. Yeah.
So after they dislodged the kayaks, his body was
let go, and
and they couldn't find him. It took
that was probably the most traumatic part for me. Now, whatever
for everybody, I think.
Yeah, for everybody for sure. But if I'm speaking like own individual mental health at that time, like going from seeing somebody that I love telling me he's going to propose to his girlfriend and these were his future plans, to not seeing him ever again, like as living, it did something to me traumatically. Like my brain never recovered. I'm never going to recover. All the deaths I've had in my life, I'm never going to recover from. My grandfather, Angela, Kathy, the great friends I've lost over the years. But Dylan's death was a little different in that it just unfair doesn't even cover the.
How it makes sense.
Yeah, right. There was nothing. And now, still to this day, I know if I'm too drunk, like I can't I can't do shit. Like come March 3rd, every March 3rd, fucking forget it. I'm going. I just write that day off. That day does not fucking exist. And you know, there was one story that I forgot to tell that I want to tell now, and now that we're in the thick of all this emotion, but and it's pretty funny looking back on it. You remember that time that Dylan, I don't know if me, Dylan, Nate, and Zach went to a Cardinals game, and Dylan, it was like the first quarter, and Dylan was so drunk he just fell asleep, and it was the 49ers and the Cardinals, right? And people were cheering and screaming. It's a big rivalry, you know. And like Dylan's like asleep in the chair, his cowboy hat's over his eyes, and I want to say like people that there was like a tussle behind him, and he never his cowboy boots kicked up in front of the chair in front, like never woke up. But I remember I got fucking really drunk, and I knew like I was like my emotions are getting the best of me right now. Like I'm gonna fucking walk away. I'm gonna go. So what I did is I found somewhere to watch the game where I thought I'd be alone, like like off to the side. There was like some railing, some concrete, like. This like platform, and I thought I was gonna be by myself, and I sat there. And I was like leaning up against the railing. It was like a close game. They were going back and forth. Like the lead was, they're going back and forth. And I was like, well, fuck it. What? At least I can cry right here, and no one's gonna see it. I can throw a fit. I can break my phone right here. I'm not gonna be on the jumbotron. You know, at least I hope I'm not. You know, like, and I'm sitting there watching I'm watching the last of this game, and there was some like young kid, like right behind me, and went like, he was a 49ers fan, and he was wearing like, he was like a hipster, like young hip kid, like he had like the big long shorts with the cholo socks and the shaved head.
That makes you a hipster?
Oh, you're an absolute hipster, buddy. You're the hippest of them all. And I remember he was saying Cardinals suck behind me. Fuck the Cardinals. I'm like, well, okay, it's public, it's the open state. What I can't do anything about it. It's not. But then he says, fuck Arizona, and I said, we can't.
Hold on there.
We're now you're not insulting a football team anymore. Now you're insulting
the whole state,
my home. And he was belligerent. He was way drunker than I was, and he had like somebody with him. And look, I just assumed it was his uncle. Anytime I think about the story, I assume this guy's his uncle. And I was like, we get your nephew, or just get him calm down, please. I don't want you guys to see who I can become, like, you know, over the stupid football team. Like, please stop this guy. And the uncle's like, it's free, you know, free speech, whatever they said. And I said, say it again. Say it one more time. And he said, fuck you. And I didn't even get to finish the sentence. And like both hands on his chest. But I feel fucking horrible because like this kid probably weighed like 90 pounds. And like I just crumpled him, and like I heard like his sneakers on the squeaking concrete. You know, that concrete's like real fine. Squeak, 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 squeak. And I fucking put him on his ass. And as that happened, Dylan came around the corner. He's like, he said he's seen the guy. He didn't see me. He just seen the guy come from behind a pillar and onto his ass, you know. And so the security walks up like, get the hell out, like get out of here. And so they're like escorting me out, and Dylan just jumps in line with me. He's like, all right, well, I guess we're just getting the hell out of here then. And we both get kicked out of this fucking game together. And I felt bad. I tried to apologize to the kid. It was nothing. It was not because he was a 49ers fan. It was just, he was just in my ear. He was too close to my personal space. He's screaming. It wasn't. But I remember they kicked me and Dylan off the property.
Because you're usually pretty calm when you're watching football.
Oh, yeah. Some would even say I'm the Dalai Lama.
If you've ever seen Levi watch a football game, you would think he was watching ballet.
Oh, yeah. No, it's, you know? I rarely raise my voice. I never embarrass myself. They kicked us out. So we actually, though, when they were kicking us out, we happened to see that the Cardinals had won by a field goal. Right, so
as you're getting kicked out, you're like,
we made it. So they sent me and Dylan to a bar. Oh, they didn't send us to a bar, but we made
they made us go to a bar.
They made me and Dylan go into a bar, and we walk into this bar, and we're so fucking drunk, right? We're like hammered. Dylan, I wanted his cowboy hat's backwards, like his feathers pointing the wrong way. We're fucking hammered drunk, right? And we walk in, and I say, can we get 2 Dos Equis? I can't even talk, slurring, and this woman's like, yeah, sure, here you go, and she gives us 2 beers. We go out to to the patio where these like 49ers fans are walking by, and you know, it's light. We're like, so who won the game? They're like, fuck you guys. Like, you know, I think the 49ers, and I think it's a fun rivalry. I don't got anything. I got nothing against the 49ers. I don't got anything against Bay Area sports. Like, I love that that's where my grandfather's from. Anyhow, but we're as we're about to take our first drink of our beer, right? This fucking dude comes out. Hey, no, you're too drunk to be drinking. Get out of our property or whatever, out of our establishment. And Dylan's like, well, you already sold us these beers, so glug 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 glug. Finish these fucking beers, push into the trash can, like, get the hell out of here. It's one of my all-time favorite Dylan stories. Of like, we got kicked out of the stadium and then immediately kicked out of a bar.
I've pretty much been kicked out of everywhere.
Have you been kicked out of that stadium? Oh wait,
I've been in that stadium twice, and I thought I was going to get kicked.
Oh, I thought for sure last time I was getting kicked out of the stadium, without a doubt.
I thought I wasn't even going to get in.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder how the fuck do I even get in this?
That's another story
for another time.
It'll take way too long.
We can. Did I ever tell you about my dream?
You dream?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody dreams. They're fucking stupid nonsense bullshit.
Is it in color at least?
You know what? That's a good question. I see the colors that I see. But after. It was about a year after Dylan passed away. I went through like this phase where I was like, there was something internally that I could not let go of the fact that there was a sick hope that he might still be alive because we didn't have his body. It wasn't a year. This dream didn't come. It was like, it wasn't, but you know.
And you know, I mean, a lot of people thought that too. Like, what if he just.
I don't know. You're the only one that really.
And I kept trying to tell everybody. I said, man, I don't want to be a dick about it, but
he's not me. Well, you know, but
not coming back.
But when you love somebody so much that you just somewhere, and I'm not saying there was a part, like there was somewhere deep inside of me that was like there might be a chance, and it was a dangerous place to be mentally. Because if there's even an inkling, if there's even like, and just the smallest percentage that he still might be alive somewhere, that hope was there, and it was hope's dangerous in that situation, you know. And I remember I wasn't letting it go. It was keeping me up at night. I wasn't sleeping right. I wasn't eating, and I remember I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the gym. That's what I typically do. Like, I'm just going to the gym and work out, and I'll get through this.
Just gonna go to gyms and work out.
Yeah, it works. I mean, for the most part, but I remember one morning, I was getting up I was leaving, and all the kids had gone to school already, and Mary was folding laundry. And I don't know why, but as I was leaving, I put my gym bag together, and I'm walking down the hallway, and I go into the kids' room. I said, I'm just gonna sit here for a second. I sat on our oldest bed, and then I laid down, and immediately I'm in my gym clothes still, like I'm in my attire.
Wrestling gear. Right?
My wrestling gear. And I immediately start dreaming. Right when I close my eyes, I start dreaming. And Dylan and I are walking down this path that I had been down in a trail I'd hiked in Oregon called Silver Creek Falls. And in the dream, I knew immediately, like, I was like, this is a dream. Obviously, this is a dream. Like, this is weird because it was real time. It's like me and you right here. There was not. I had control over my body. I had control over my thoughts. Like this, like looking around. Because you walk in, like dreams, they don't have a beginning or an end. You're in the middle of whatever's happening. So I'm like walking with Dylan, and he's slightly ahead of me, and he keeps on looking over his shoulder, like, let's go. I got to take you to where I'm at. We're going to go to and I'm like, okay, well, we're in Oregon right now. But when we got to the end of this trail, it was all of a sudden the Gila River, or whatever, what is it?
It was the...
It's Gila.
Yeah.
But the water's running the opposite direction in my dream. There was like so many things in this dream. I was like, this all seems like very symbolic, or, and he takes me down to the shore, and he's like telling me, he's like, I know you got a lot of questions, and we don't have a lot of time, but I'm just going to tell you. I got to tell you some things. He said, "Your guys." At this time, there was a lot of speculation that he bumped his head for some reason. I remember that's what I was telling myself to try and make myself feel better. And he's like, "You're remembering it, or it's wrong." He said, "I was dumped over and immediately pinned." It actually correlates with what you just told me. I've never heard that part of the story, but like this, actually, what I'm about to say is, he said, "I was dumped over and then I was immediately pressed up against this log." He said, "It didn't take long. Any oxygen I had in my body," he's always telling me, like, so a lot of this, like, he's making me feel as well as sane. It's really weird. It's strange, and by no means am I on a campaign to like get anybody to listen who's listening to our podcast to like convert to like anything. It's just, I'm not a psychic, and it's just my own brain's way of dealing with it, or whatever happened, whatever it was, and
your own way of
dealing. And he says, "I'm pushing all of the oxygen out of my muscles are being utilized, or all the oxygen for my lungs and my brain are being utilized in my muscles to try and push this kayak." And he said, "I knew it wasn't going to budge, and I accepted that I was going to die." He said it wasn't very long. He wasn't there for a long. He knew, and he said as soon as he accepted it, he was going to die. His brain released a bunch of endorphins, and he actually he was pretty happy. He was pretty happy to be let go. And he said that it just went black. And then he said that he was kind of making me feel, he said that it's a lot of energy to be alive. It's a lot of energy just to live day-to-day life. He's telling me, so when you pass away, you rest. He said and he said the Lord. This is my dream, my account. This isn't a stance on it.
It's just what he said in your dream.
Yeah, not a religious stance, but he said the Lord said it's time for you to rest. So the river held me like a womb. I was like back in my mother's womb, and I rest. And he said I got the most sleep. I felt so rested. And
he's slept enough.
So he tells we get we're out of the water, right? And I'm like, so where are you? Because I had so many questions for him. Are you in heaven? Is heaven real? Like, what is all this? And he said no. He did tell me. He said it's not whatever you guys think it is. None of it is. Like, none of it as a whole is what you guys think it is. He said it's pretty surprising. He said, but I can't really go anywhere until things are squared away, and then I'm going to the other side, and like more or less like what you guys believe heaven is. It stirred a lot of feelings, like, wow. And I said, is God real? And he said, well, he used the word the Lord. He said, the Lord's real. He said, he comes down here and walks with me by the river sometimes, and we talk about things, and he actually brought up Mary's mother's cancer in her throat. It was pretty interesting. It was really interesting how everything was playing out in the stream. But he said, I know you have a lot of questions. He said, but I know a lot of people are suffering right now because of my passing. But I need to let you know that I'm okay. And he said, not only am I okay, but you guys are okay. Everybody's okay. But you got to go. And as I was leaving back up the trail from out of Arizona back into Oregon or whatever the fuck that was, he said, but I got to tell you something though. He said, I don't have much time. He said, I know that you have a fear of hell that's been instilled in you since you're little because of the church that you grew up in. And he said, the Lord wanted me to tell you that hell's not real. He said, it's not like that. He said, it's not real like that. It's not what... yeah, it's exactly. And I woke eternity. Right. And I woke up and I felt like, it was the first time I felt like, all right, well, I had the smallest amount of closure. It was very small. And again, anybody who's listening to this, anybody who doubts it, I'm okay. Anybody who doubts
it. You can't back it up.
Right, yeah. It's my dream. It's my belief. It's how I feel. I would never be offended by anybody if they said they didn't believe it, and that's okay. But I tell you this, after that dream, I began to carry on a little more day-to-day life. And about a year later, I was on the back porch, and I've got my phone playing like country music, just playing the outlaw radio, and Arlo McKinley, Ghost of My Best Friend, starts playing. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Because you know the song, right? You've heard the song.
Yeah.
So, I was actually kind of hoping I could play that song, just maybe for our listeners. Like,
Well, if you're going to.
I'm going to. But it was really like the word for word what this song was saying. It was like this. I would love to interview or talk to Arlo McKinley, the artist, and ask like, what's your story? Because mine, this is mine, and man, this is pretty fucking close to what I've gone through. But anyhow, so I'm gonna try. I'm probably gonna fuck it up, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Before I start, is there anything you wanted to say?
No, I mean, if I keep talking, man, we're just gonna we could talk about Dylan stories for
Forever?
fucking eternity.
Yeah, no, we know. I know it's easy to do, man. I always try and find ways to segue Dylan almost in every conversation. All right, so I'm gonna give this a shot. Let's see what happens. Let's see. It's called "The Ghost of My Best Friend." I heard it about a year after, or maybe more after my dream about Dylan. These cables. I hope this stool doesn't give out.
You use that same stool.
It doesn't feel very confident, but let's go. It's like this. Real to be a dream, we were getting high on gasoline down by the bank where the river bends, and we laughed and danced and sang, and we talked about everything, sitting here with the ghost of my best friend, and you couldn't tell me much about the afterlife and such, just about the beauty of the end. Said there's no need to be afraid, you'd understand it all someday. Sit here with the ghost of your best friend. I wish this night could last forever. I wish this moment had no end. If I'm dreaming, please, please don't wake me. Sitting here with the ghost of my best friend. The sun was sinking down, stars lit up this river town. Noticed tears were falling in your hands. Dreams you never get to see, swear you'll see them all through me. Traveling with the ghost of my best friend. And you said you had to go, but you wanted me to know you'd put a good word for me if you could. Turn around to leave, put your arms around me. Say goodbye to the ghost of your best friend. I wish this night could last forever. I wish this moment had no end. If I'm dreaming, please, please don't wake me. Sitting here with the ghost of my best friend. And the stars were sinking down, Stars lit up this river town. Noticed tears were falling in your hands, and you turned around to leave, put your arms around me. Say goodbye to the ghost of your best friend. Say goodbye to the ghost of your best friend. Yeah, it's odd that when I heard that song, I thought I called Mary. I said, listen to these lyrics. This doesn't make any. I mean, this is like eerily close to my dream.
Riverbend.
Yeah, all of it. It was a bit much. But before I wrap this up, I wanted to say a few things, and one was Matt and Susie and Raina and Cody and everybody that's given us our blessing to tell this story on our podcast. Thank you so much. Dylan is truly missed and loved. That's all I got for this episode. I hope everybody likes it. I hope it wasn't too heavy. Anything from you, Jason? An anecdote?
It was pretty heavy.
It's pretty rough. All right, gang. Well, we'll see you guys. I think our next guest. I think what I like our next guest to be is Wedo.